you see me. Thank you.
Good morning and welcome back to mylifeswalk.com. This is your brother Brian, and I'm just truly excited about today because this is the day that the Lord has made, and I will rejoice and be glad in it. So I'm excited just to be here before you, to be able to share with you what God has shared with me. And I'm thankful for all that God has done in my life, and excited about what he's going to do. So we're going to get right into it today, and we're going to talk about being individualistic, being me. You know, in our society, we do live in a society that promotes individualism, and we come up with these mantras and the sayings that we pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, and uh, you know if it wasn't for me, things would have fallen apart. You know, we are the master of our domain. All these types of things that we say that promotes what I can do as the individual. And in saying that and promoting this ideology, we tend to forget that we are not islands. We don't do anything all by ourselves. And we've all heard people say, I did it all on my own. I became the CEO all on my own. Well, that's not true, because you were influenced, you were encouraged, you were supported in one way or another by someone. You know, the only thing that made it possible for you to even believe that you can get to where you are or where you want to be is because you've seen somebody else do it. You've seen what was possible through someone else, by someone else. So we fall into this me type of mentality. You know, I made my millions. Like, you're all by yourself, and no one does. The creator of a new business that turns it from a small mom and pop, you know, working out of his basement business into a multi-million-dollar business. Well, he couldn't have done that on his own without his employees, without someone there giving him a shot. So we have to be very mindful of this individualistic mentality, and we see it in every day. We've gone from the old adage that says that it takes a village to raise a child to now where you need to mind your business and I'll take care of my own. And this is ripping at the fabric of our families. It's ripping at the fabric of our country, our community. We got to step back and look at the big picture. We tend to accept things the way they are without looking at the results of what is happening in our world. We don't examine, we kind of go with the flow. I think that's a better way to put it. We just accept things the way they are, and we complain about them, and it don't make no sense. Well, this ain't like it used to be. Well, what are you doing to make it like it used to be, or even make it better than it is? I mean, we can point the finger at a lot of different things in our society and say this is the cause of this and that's the cause of that, and but the true reality is that, and this is the painful truth, that we've allowed our society to become the society that it is. We look at the murder rate, we look at all these different things, and we don't step back and examine, well, how did we get here? It's because we backed off. We we became more like the world, and we've accepted and adopted this well, I'm gonna get mine attitude. But the result is there is no more village. There is no more community. And I want to ask you a serious question. I want you to honestly think about this, especially as children of God. I want you to really be honest about this and ask yourself, how many of your neighbors do you really know? How many of them have you extended yourself out to engage and befriend? And the reality is, for the majority of us, we don't even know. We don't even know the people living next door to us. And that's shameful, especially as children of God. That is shameful. And we have to accept the responsibility of that. And we have to say, you know what? I'm not going to be like this anymore. I'm going to step back and I'm going to put myself aside and I'm going to be the person that is going to reflect the light of God that's in me. And the light of God that's in you should be friendly. You should be easy to become friends with. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be easy to be friends with people outside in your house. Sometimes it's hard to be friends with people in your house. But we have to do it because we have been given a charge to. We have been instructed to be different than the world. And that even extends to being friendly. And that the way we come out of that is that we have to begin to acknowledge that it's not about me, the island. It's about us, the unity of us. You know, Paul in Ephesians 4, 1 through 6, he encourages us. And as the verses say, I'm going to read this here. I therefore, the prisoner of the Lord, beseech that you walk worthy of the vocation wherewith you are called, with all lowliness and meekness and long-suffering, forbearing one another in love, endeavoring to keep the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. There is one body and one Spirit, and even as ye are called in one hope of your calling, one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of all, who is above all and through all and in you all. So Paul talks about this spirit that we should have of unity and peace. And this is what binds us together. I mean, we have to really, even in our churches, we have to be mindful of that. This church sitting next door to that church really doesn't associate with the church right next door. And putting ideologies aside and philosophies aside and beliefs aside, that really should not matter. If your church is next to a mosque, you should be friends with the people in that mosque. And that's just a true reality of it. We make it seem as though it's just the way it should be, because they're not like us, because they don't believe as we believe. Well, then where are we as the example? What are we doing to build the bridge? Because that is truly our charge. It is not our charge to look at another person's faith, another person's behavior, and say, I'm not associating with that. Because truly, if Christ took on that mindset, they would have never found him where they found him. You know, why are you with the tax collectors and the harlots? Well, because the truth of the matter is that's where he needed to be, and that's where we need to be. You know, we have fallen into my way or the highway. But it's not about your way. You're a believer. It can't be about your way. It's got to be about God's way. And God's way is not about me. It's not about the individual. That only comes into play when it comes to your relationship with him. But when it comes to the community of human beings that we are, oh, we are the peacemakers. We are those who are known as friendly. We are known as accepting and embracing. So it's time, because our communities are suffering, and we as believers should have a say about that. We as believers should say, no more. No more can I continue to be like the rest of the world, to worry about me and mine. Because truly, if you're a believer, yours are already covered. Your family and your children should already be covered. But you should be concerned about those outside of your house, just as well as you should be concerned about those in your house. I mean, living this life is not living it in a bubble. We should not become isolated. We should be known in our communities and in our neighborhoods. You know, that guy Brian, he's all right. There's something different about him. And they should be drawn to you, not away from you. So we have to look at ourselves and really say, am I exemplifying the life of someone who is a believer in Jesus Christ, who taught love, who shared whatever he had? You know, so it's time. The fabric of our society and our community and our families are being ripped to shreds. And we just stand by and watch it happen. We don't make an effort to change even our own behavior that adds to and that contributes to the tearing of that fabric. So at some point, we're going to have to wake up and realize we live in a world that needs us more than we need them. They need our love. They need our attributes as believers, because truly it is not a far stretch for us to become Sodom and Gomorrah and be like Lot trying to find one that's not like everybody else, so that God can spare us, so he can spare this United States. But we have to go back from whence we came. We have to remember that this United States, this community we live, this neighborhood we live in, it was built off of the community. It was built off of us together. So, you know what? I just thought about it. I never told you what the title was. What the message was. But you can read it. I know you read it when it started. Nobody but you can make it happen. That's the segue. Well, he passed the segue of the title. But it takes you. This is one of those cases where, yeah, it takes you, the individual, and us as individuals and as the body of Christ to make it happen. So this is my charge for all of us today. We all need you as the individual to say, I'm not going to be like the world. I'm going to be that light. You know, It's not about just the church. I mean, we can be loving and giving and sharing in the church. But I'm trying to figure out how that works when you don't know your neighbor next door. See, we get so caught up in the fear of what is out there in the world. What is there for us to fear? You know, I'll tell you this quick story. Last weekend, me and my boys, we went down to Georgia uh, to see my niece graduate from college. And before we left, we prayed, Father, protect this house, that there no damage, no intruder, because we believe in you. And we left. Now, the human part of me over the weekend was like, oh man, I hope nobody break in the house. But I had to be reminded, well, who are you believing in? I can't be worried about the world and say I believe in God. What the world might do, that somebody might break in my house and steal my stuff. What is the stuff that can't be replaced? So we think about our stuff. We think about ourselves. We are selfish by nature. This is true. But as believers, we have to fight that. We have to move beyond me and mine. And we got to get back to a village raising our children. We have to be that example. Our home should be open doors to the community, to the neighborhood kids. We can't be so caught up. We don't want these kids in there because they're going to mess up our stuff. So we got to step back. I say it all the time. You got to step back and think about what we do and what we say and how it lines up with the God that we claim to serve. It's a challenge because you got to change your mindset. But the Bible always tells us that we have to renew our mind. We have to begin to think differently. We cannot think like the world. We cannot be like the world and then call ourselves set apart. So go meet your neighbor. Introduce yourself. Let them know that, I'm sorry, I've been living here 5 years and I don't even know your name. Start anew. It's not too late. We can begin to stitch back this fabric that has been torn in our communities and in our families. We can do it. And nobody can do it but you. You have got to make it happen in your community, in your neighborhood. And let our light so shine. Let that light of God shine and let the world see that we are not like the world. And we are beacons of light. So thank you for your time. Thank you for allowing me to give you what God has given me. I do hope and pray that it encourages you. And I want you to continue to pray for me, your friend, your brother, Brian, as I will continue to pray for you. And let's rebuild our communities. Let's become a village again. It's not too late. It's not too late. So until next time, may God continue to bless you.